Third main idea. Fungi reproduce sexually and asexually. Most fungi reproduce both sexually and asexually through a wide variety of strategies. Yeasts are single celled fungi. They reproduce asexually, either through simple fission or through a process called budding, which is actually demonstrated on the screen here. Fission is identical to mitosis, which is the cell's DNA is copied and the nucleus and cytoplasm divide, making two identical daughter cells. During budding, the parent cell forms a small bud of cytoplasm that also contains a copy of the nucleus. When these buds reach a certain size, they detach and form a cell. Some yeasts undergo sexual reproduction. A diploid yeast cell undergoes meiosis, producing 4 haploid nuclei. However, the parent cell's cytoplasm does not divide. If you can remember, a yeast is a type of sac fungi. Instead of the cytoplasm dividing, it produces the characteristic sac-like structure of this phylum called an ascus. The haploid nuclei it contains are actually a type of spore. The ascus undergoes budding, releasing each of the haploid spores. Some spores may then reproduce more haploid spores through budding. Others may fuse with other haploid spores to form diploid yeast cells. The multicellular fungi have complex reproductive cycles. Examples of life cycles for 2 phyla of fungi are shown on the screen here. Basidiomycota are named for their club-shaped structures called basidia, in which spores produce during sexual reproduction. Basidia are found on the undersides of mushrooms, and they form within the leaf-like gills that you can easily see. In club fungi, unlike the other phyla, spores are most often formed by sexual reproduction. Nuclei within the basidia fuse to form diploid zygotes. The zygotes undergo meiosis to form haploid spores. The spores drop from the gills and are carried away by wind or contact with animals. If the spores land in a favorable environment, they grow and form haploid hyphae. Some cells of the haploid mycelium may fuse with the cells of another haploid mycelium, producing a diploid mycelium underground. An environmental cue, such as rain or a change in temperature, can trigger the formation of above-ground fruiting bodies, such as mushrooms. The bread molds. Members of Zygomycota are also known as zygote fungi because of the structures they form during sexual reproduction. Bread molds reproduce sexually when the food supply is low, but can also reproduce asexually when there is plenty of food. They reproduce asexually by producing spores in sporangia, spore-forming structures at the tips of their hyphae. The term sporangium is used to describe similar reproductive structures of a variety of organisms, including some fungi, mosses, algae, and ferns. So, in the club fungi, sexual reproduction in zygote fungi involves hyphae that look alike but are different mating types. The 2 types of hyphae fuse their nuclei to produce a diploid zygospore that can tolerate long periods of extreme conditions. When the conditions become favorable, a sporangium grows and produces haploid spores. The spores are released and can grow into new hyphae, and then the new hyphae in turn may reproduce asexually by forming haploid spores of sporangia. Or they may reproduce sexually by fusing hyphae to produce more zygospores.